Hey, what's going on, folks? This is Keith. You're watching Barber's Auto Help. Thank you so much for watching. In today's video, I've got this 2018 Ford F150 here equipped with a 5.0, and I'm going to take you along as I remove and install the Serpentine belt and the AC belt on it. Now, though this is a 2018 Ford F150, this information is probably going to apply for a good year swath there. I'm sure that this particular setup for the Serpentine belt and the AC belt have been used on many of the Ford F-150s throughout the years. You can just kind of take a look at your belt drive and see if it looks similar. If it does look similar, then this information is going to apply. Now, not all the information is probably going to apply for all of those years. Getting down to the belts themselves may be a little different from year to year, but the actual removal and installation of the belts themselves, if your setup is similar to this one, will be pretty similar. And of course, you know, check for any differences in your repair manual and just verify everything, guys. Now, unfortunately, and I'm sorry, I don't have torque specs for you. I'm not actually using a manual when doing this. I'm just going by experience here. I would suggest having torque specs. Whenever you go to tighten up fasteners, having the correct torque spec and torquing them down properly is pretty important. So let's go ahead and get into it.
Before you get started, you want to make sure that the vehicle is placed on a flat, level surface, such as like a concrete slab. Place the vehicle into park, apply the parking brake, remove the ignition key from the ignition. You don't want the engine running during this process. And be sure to chock the wheels. Also disconnect the negative battery clamp from the battery and isolate it from the battery.
And then we can go ahead and get started. So first thing we need to do is remove the air duct right here from the air filter housing down to the throttle body. All right, we're going to go ahead and disconnect these lines on the back side of the air inlet tube. See this little black tab right here? You're going to push in with your thumb to unlock it, twist back and forth on that line, and pull out just like that. Now this one back here works a little differently. This one has a lock tab that you have to push rearward first, which is this way, and then I'm pushing it towards you at this point after I pulled it rearward to unlock it, give it a twist and pull. This is what's going on inside there. That's the little lock. Gotta go rearward and then push that way. Get that thing to focus. There we go. You can see how that little lock hook locks it in there. Once that's out of the way, go ahead and remove the hose from your air duct. And then you got two hose clamps, one right here, one right there. And you'll need a 7mm socket. You can use a driver or a screwdriver if you want, flat tip if you need to use a flat tip. I'm going to use a little impact here. Just gently take that off. Give me my socket back. All right, once you got that, you can go ahead and gently kind of rock this back and forth like so. Comes right off. And this will come right off the air filter housing as well. All right, once you got it loose, you can just kind of maneuver it out gently. Don't pull anything or break anything in the process. Just like that.
Okay guys, so at this point you should have all the access you need to do this job. You can get down to the belts through this little window right here. Now during the course of this video, you'll see that I'll have different components removed. It kind of helps to be able to see everything better, and I can explain better what's going on with those components removed. You don't have to remove those extra components in order to do this job. The only thing you really got to remove in order to get down to the belts is the air inlet duct. Once you've gained access to the belts, let's go ahead and turn our attention to the alternator belt. We're going to release the tension from the tensioner by placing a 15mm socket on the head of the pulley bolt. We're then going to rotate that tensioner counterclockwise, releasing the tension from the belt. Once the tension is removed, go ahead and take your other hand and remove the belt from the belt drive. Now at this point here, we're going to turn our attention to the AC belt, and on our ratchet, instead of having a 15mm socket, we'll have a 6-inch 3/8 drive extension on it, And we're going to place that extension into the receptacle of the tensioner, and then we're going to rotate the tensioner clockwise. And that's going to release the tension from the belt. Once that's done, you can remove the belt from the drive. Now at this point, you're going to see that it's very difficult, if not impossible, to remove the AC belt from the harmonic balancer due to the alternator belt tensioner. In this situation, I like to remove the tensioner and then the belt comes right off. This bolt has a 13mm head on it, so we'll use a 13mm socket and a ratchet and remove this bolt and then remove the tensioner. At this point, you'll need to remove the belt from the AC belt tensioner. You can actually slide the belt around the back side of this pulley here. It might help to use one hand on the upper side of the belt just above the pulley and place another hand underneath and kind of move it back and forth and slide it right out of that area there. You do not have to remove the AC belt tensioner. The flatter you get the belt against the timing cover, the easier it is to slide the belt out. The installation, of course, is reverse procedure. I like to make a little loop with the belt and have the ribs facing outward in that loop, and then I just take that loop and I slide it right behind that pulley of the AC belt tensioner. And this is actually a better illustration than when I took the belt off. I used the same method taking it off as I'm using putting it back on. Of course, it's just the opposite direction. Of course, you'll need to route the belt around your other pulleys as shown here. I like to leave the belt off of the idler pulley, and once I get the belt routed around the other pulleys there, I then take my extension and ratchet and I insert it into the tensioner and rotate the tensioner clockwise, releasing the tension, and then I route the belt around the idler pulley and then release the tensioner. At this point, you want to check your routing, make sure the belt is inside all the grooves of all the pulleys and centered on all the pulleys. And here's the frontal view of the AC belt routing. Okay, once the AC belt is on, we can then turn our attention to installing the alternator belt tensioner. Notice the cleat on the back side of the tensioner and the cleat receptacle on the front of the timing cover. You'll need to place the tensioner on the timing cover with the cleat positioned into the receptacle. Run the bolt in with your fingers. Then torque the bolt to specification. At this point, we can go ahead and route the belt around all of the pulleys. I like to route my belt around all the pulleys except for the water pump pulley. I like to save that for last. Once I have the belt routed, I then take and rotate the tensioner counterclockwise, and then I'll put my belt around the water pump pulley. And you can see that the belt fell off of the tensioner. I just route that back around the tensioner, no big deal. At this point, we're going to go ahead and release the tensioner, and then we're going to check our belt routing. We're going to make sure that the belt is centered on all the pulleys and in all the grooves of all the pulleys.
At this point, you want to put your air duct back in. It's basically reverse procedure. Be sure you tighten up your hose clamp on your throttle body and also on your air filter housing here. Go ahead and reconnect your lines. Make sure they snap in. Give it a tug, make sure it's secure. Same thing on this one. Give it a tug, make sure it's secure. Be sure that your coolant line goes back into the little groove there. Be sure to install the negative battery clamp and tighten it up. And then of course at this time you want to start the vehicle up, let it run for a little bit, and then shut the vehicle back down, and then check the belt routing to make sure you installed the belts correctly and that they didn't come out of any of the grooves on any of the pulleys there. All right guys, well that will do it for this video. I sure appreciate you guys watching. If you have any questions, just comment down below. I'll be happy to answer those whenever I can. Also, please read the entire description down below this video before you attempt this or apply any of this knowledge. There may be some things down there that I need to clear up. That's where I do that, so please read that, and also read the disclaimer at the very end of it as well. Also guys, please check out my Amazon links. Thank you.